Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout their business career. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To generate leads on LinkedIn, you actually have to stop marketing on LinkedIn. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. Today's guest is Michael Cohn. He is the owner of Cohn Trade Law, providing specialized legal services related to the importation of goods, including tariff classification and engineering, custom duties, regulatory compliance, tariff refunds, and state and federal court litigation arising from import activities, which is all a big mouthful of stuff, but it's going to be very interesting to hear Michael's journey and what he can share with us on just business principles that can all help us out as well. So welcome to the show, Michael. And I want to start off with just getting right into the first question, which is this. If you were to go back in time to when you started your very first business, your law career, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Jason, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be here. But are you asking about my own law firm, when I started my own law firm, or when I started as an associate here? It took me a long time to get to the point where I was able to launch my own law firm with the necessary background and funds.
Yeah. So in your own business, so when you launched your own law firm, what would be the number one piece of advice that you'd go back to yourself when you started that maybe you've learned along the way and you thought, if I know this piece, if I would have known this piece of advice, it would have really helped me not make some of the problems or challenges that I created for myself.
I would have taken more time to prepare business templates. Because when you're a solo practitioner like you have to have your invoices together, you have to have your engagement letters together. It takes a tremendous amount of time on the administrative side, and this has been the biggest burden for me in successfully launching and running my business. Now, I started, unfortunately, COVID was here, so it was difficult during that time. But the most difficult part of being a solo practitioner as a lawyer is all the administration, all the administrative work that has to be done. It has compliance, continuing legal education, invoicing. And I found that if there's one single thing that's most important in running a law firm, just like any other business, it's timely invoicing. And so you want to get that invoice out on the first, even if you're not over the weekend. You don't want to bother your clients over the weekend with an invoice. It's terribly rude. But you want to be prepared to have that invoice go out right away. And it's those sorts of things. It's timeliness. It's timely responding to the client, which I'm good at. But the administrative side is really quite complicated, both in launching your firm, figuring out what type of entity you want to have. So I have a professional liability, limited liability corporation, PLLC. And so if I were to do it again, I would spend twice as much time as I did preparing. And also you have to become somewhat of an expert in tech. And that is not my area of expertise. It's very difficult. It's difficult for me to invoice. I don't like to ask people for money. I'm an intellectual and a lawyer, right? And so I've had to learn these skills, and I still do right now, right? Which email provider should I use? I use Proton Mail because I believe it's probably the most secure. I'm very security oriented, and protect my clients' secrets carefully. But when you do all that by yourself, right? I'm an attorney. I'm an attorney's attorney, and tech is not my specialty whatsoever. So I guess I would have taken more time, and I would have hired more consultants to help me launch. The professional liability insurance, all kinds of things. So I would have done more planning, and I would have opened up and invested more in outside consultants so that I didn't have to keep sort of segueing into the solo practice with all kinds of planning once I left my prior firm. So that's really what I would have done.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think is a great piece of advice there, Michael, because I think oftentimes when we start off, we are trying to do everything on our own. We think, okay,
Yes.
this is what I need to do. I need to do it on my own. I don't want to relinquish that control over to somebody else. So what are some of the things that you have put in place then that have helped you to be able to deal with those invoicing or paperwork or tech things that have just helped maybe take some of that stress and pressure off of you that would be good advice for others that may be dealing with the same sorts of things?
Well, I have relied on tech consultants, computer consultants, huh? Gone in and paid the money necessary for them to help me make sure that I am storing my records properly, right? Because we were required to keep everything for 7 years in New York, and also we have to be very careful of any kind of hacking, right? So you have to have so I have hired computer and security consultants to help me make sure that my electronics, my computer, and my storage devices are safe. I also have a part-time paralegal, and then I also have a part-time COO. So I've brought these people on, and as my business expands, I will bring them on full-time. But
Yeah,
control, I want to pick up on the control word
mm,
because I'm not a control freak. But I am control oriented. I'm very control oriented about the work product that's put out publicly, what's written, the invoices. I spend hours and hours on invoices for a lot of different reasons. Some attorneys will write, okay, analysis, 3.0 hours. Okay. I won't do anything like that. I think it's more important to record specifics of what you do. My clients appreciate it. And then in the event something happens down the line for some reason, they may need to go back and refer to that. So it also builds integrity between the client and me. If I'm billing 4.5 hours and say analysis, that's not especially convincing. So I'll spend a full day easily, cumulatively, on an invoice. And another thing that's very important, and it can't always be done. Huh? If you work 12 hours and you're completely exhausted, you might wait until the next day to record your hours. But this is something that I learned from a friend of mine who is an extremely talented litigator and been very successful in the law business, is that one of the things you want to do before you shut down your computer is record your time for the day. One of the biggest reasons, Jason, is because that if you don't, you lose time. You lose
mm,
time, right? When you go back, if you try to recover it, you look at everything and you want to make sure you didn't overcharge somebody. But the way to maximize honest hours, and I mean that completely, is to record your hours every single day. It's not easy
yeah.
when you're exhausted at 8 p.m., for example. So,
Yeah, and I think it's a great tip that you've given around that. I know for you measuring and tracking those hours is really important, so you know what to bill for clients and things. But just from a productivity standpoint, I think that's really good on understanding what are your hours, what are you actually doing, and it's quite interesting that if you're not tracking them, oftentimes we're doing work that's we think we're actually being productive when we're just being busy.
that's a really good point. And I'll say something that might upset other attorneys if they look at this, but uh, a dirty secret is that nobody's watching us. We bill by the hour. There's no monitor. Huh? Some attorneys will bill uh, if they're walking down the street and thinking about a client, and that's not unethical. Huh? There's nothing unethical about that. I never do that. One of the ways I control my hours is by making sure that I'm only billing if I'm sitting down at the computer, Or look, you get to a point where you have to bill for travel time.
Yeah.
Not in the beginning. When you get so busy, that's time that you can't afford, right? And that can be controversial with clients. So that has to be made very clear, huh? Whether you're going to bill for travel time and other things, especially if it's lengthy. But other than a situation where I'm in travel time or waiting in court, I'm careful not to bill hours unless I'm actually sitting at the computer. And that's a way for me to control myself and be honest, huh?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point to do.
Because,
Lots of learning in there. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Michael.
but Jason, one of the best ways to lose a client is sticker shock on an invoice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Yeah.
And I never have had a dispute with a client over an invoice. I have had clients come to me and say, gee whiz, can I have a discount? And then I always provide it. It's not a question.
Mm.
Um, I'm not somebody who's centrally motivated by money. That's a weakness. That's a weakness I have to overcome. I
Mm.
mean, right. I have to make sure I bill on time. I have to make sure I record my hours, right? Right. Yeah. Um, you have to fight your weak. I saw one of your other podcasts, and I was very interested by a gentleman who said he didn't have these business skills, and as an attorney, and as my type of attorney, my father was an attorney. Um, it's never been about making money. We are a licensed profession. I do all kinds of pro bono work to help vulnerable tenants. It doesn't make me money, but it keeps me happy,
Mm.
and it develops tremendous goodwill, and it's wonderful for community, and that's important to me. So,
Yeah.
so I'm factoring all these things in together.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Michael, over the next, let's say 2 to 3 years, what are your goals with your business? What are you wanting to achieve?
I'm looking to achieve two main things, I would say. Uh, I'm looking to help clients deal with the tariff situation. It's tariff chaos. We haven't seen anything like this in the history of the country, not even during the Smoot-Hawley Act in 1930, where the customs duties were raised up to like 50% in response
Mhm.
to the beginnings of the Depression and the outcries from businesses, and convinced Congress to raise these rates. But we've never seen rates like this whipsaw up and down enormously with no anticipation and sudden. So this has done tremendous damage to private enterprise throughout the country. One way to understand that is to know that for the past 2 decades, at least, close to three, customs duties until President Trump came along in 2017, customs duties were mostly the same because we negotiated under the GATT and then the World Trade Organization, where all the countries that belong, which is the vast majority of countries in the world, they agreed to set tariff rates. In manufacturing, especially a complex item like a car, huh? You have to plan ahead. You have to know what those inputs are.
Mm.
And if all of a sudden, and sometimes it takes years to develop a product, and if all of a sudden these tariff rates that have been the same for decades, and you plan, and all of a sudden a major input goes to 50%, there goes your profit. So what
Yeah.
happens on the market is there's tremendous negotiation. It's a bloodbath out there between importers and intermediate suppliers and ultimate customers as to who's going to absorb this. So
Yeah.
I want to help private enterprise recover and adjust to the new tariff scenario, because I believe that private enterprise is the core and the heart of our country and liberty. And it took me a long time to figure out why I believe that. And I think it is, my view now is that freedom comes from the ability to start your own company and make your own money. And if you cannot, if the only money you get is from the government, you're not free anymore.
Mm.
So I have a deep philosophical approach to private enterprise. We're seeing bankruptcies across the board. I fit in well with my Michigan folk, and I'm going to go back now from New York City. I've been here for 30 years. It's been a wonderful run, but now we can work remotely.
Yeah.
and I can come in here from time to time as I need to. But my two core things are to uh, help with tariffs and to make money from tariffs. This is my time. I've been
Mm,
a customs attorney for 30 years, right? So don't even have a website set up because I have institutional clients and I have LinkedIn.
hmm
Um, and I'm also very security minded. And
hmm
but I have to set up my website now,
Yeah.
and I'm
That's
doing it.
amazing.
So I'm gonna do tariffs, and also I'm gonna expand, Jason, into other areas of revenue streams that interest me with some of my pet projects, like
That's amazing.
the pink tax, for
Yeah.
example, and is going to be one. And I'm also starting a business involving some other potential tax refund revenue streams. I've spent a lot of my career on tax refunds or customs duty refunds,
Yeah.
constitutional or otherwise. And so I have a nice revenue stream there. And so for me, I think diversification is really
Yeah.
important, Jason, for my
Amazing.
future financial health, because I am not that attorney. Look, I could have stayed in one place and right, I could have retired by now, but I was pushed by these internal drives that were more important to me than just making money.
Yeah.
So now
That's brilliant.
I'm going to pursue these different revenue streams, and I have
Yeah.
my website www.pink.tax, and I've paid for it myself in 2016. Right.
Yeah.
But now I have to monetize that. It's hard for me.
Yeah.
So here you
Yeah.
hear me again, right? I don't like to ask people for money. And yet
Yeah.
my pink.tax website is the number one clearinghouse, and it hasn't been updated for a long time. But right now I'm in the process of setting up a bank account and setting up an LLC behind it so I can get that bank account so people can provide donations, right?
Amazing.
I've
Amazing.
been funding
That's
it
brilliant.
myself forever, and so I'm gonna ask for some help there. But
Good.
can I segue quickly into something else and
Well,
something related?
do you know, Michael, we're actually up on time
I
on
see.
this. But what I would say is this: I love what your goal is and all that. What's the best way for people to contact you so that they can inquire more about what you're just talking about? Is LinkedIn the best place for them to go?
LinkedIn is, but my website will be up probably within the next month, and then I will, people can contact me over my website. But yes, they can go on my LinkedIn profile and send me a
Amazing.
message, and I always respond. And I do get uh, clients there from time to time.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well,
Yes.
everyone, please do check out Michael's LinkedIn. He's doing some great things with tariffs and pink tax and things that he is really passionate about as well. So, Michael, once again, thank you for being on the show. Great pleasure having you on. And as a reminder, everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn. And the link to that will be in the show notes below. And until next episode, stay inspired.